Alright, come back to make another video. I want to follow up on this Rocket Man series I was doing. Get some closure on this as to why I've been doing this. I've been working on this song for quite a while. I made a few videos on it, and I just wanted to finish out as to why I was doing it. I haven't had a lot of time. I've got a few days off from work for a change, and I've had 2 days off all the time I've been working, so I haven't been able to pick up my guitar, um, and I don't have a lot of time, but I got time to make this video today. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to get to why I was making this Rocket Man video in the first place. If you followed any of my videos or you watched anything I did, I was working with Rocket Man for a while because I wanted to get to a certain point and instruct something about jazz that no one told me about. Music took me a lot of places. I've met a lot of people. I've played with a lot of people. So over time, I'd learned that there's some structure in music. I guess some people are just musically advanced or geniuses. They don't need to talk about this. But I figured over time, as I was playing with people, they kind of didn't see what I was seeing in music. I was kind of different, the way I looked at music. And I'd always get lost. And listening to discussions and stuff online and talking with other people, there were other people that were lost because it seems like the people that have the musical knowledge aren't sharing it with people, or they just assume that others know it. And they don't seem to understand that, that some of us don't know it, and that we need to talk to other people about it, and so that they can learn how to play music a little bit better. And there's not such a large learning curve in music. But what I was getting at with Rocket Man was released in April of 1972. Dark Side of the Moon was released in March of 1973. There's a structure within Rocket Man that is very interesting, and it wasn't just in Rocket Man, it came from jazz that I started about 3 years ago. I started working with this song because I started working with jazz, and I started picking up on what it is. And I saw this a lot in rock and roll. One of the first jazz songs I ever learned was Summertime. And there was a lot of discussion again online. People didn't know what key it was in. People that knew how to play it and had been playing it. I've read several forums where people were like, I've been playing it for years, I don't quite know what key it is, but I just play it. So I played in D minor or whatever, and I heard different keys, and I started to realize that this concept in jazz called obfuscation. It's not just a programming term. It's something in jazz where you hide what key you're in. You don't want anybody to know about this. And what this does is it builds up tension in the song, and then you resolve it. I can give you certain examples. This is about the 5th time I've picked up my guitar this month, so I'm a little bit rusty. But let's say the song is in A, but I'm not going to play A. I can sit here and I can did play an A there, but and it resolves on the A. The whole time I was hiding A. And what this does is it builds up tension. And the ear is waiting for that resolving. Well, this came out to be something that was played around with by Charlie Parker and Miles Davis and different jazz artists. And it's called obfuscation. And B.B. King used it a lot too, because I listened to an interview with B.B. King where B.B. King, he was a disc jockey at a blues station in Memphis, and he was very intimidated by people like Charlie Christian and Lonnie Johnson and a lot of great blues players, and he couldn't play like they played. So he decided that he was going to play it the way he wanted to play it. Well, that left B.B. kind of by himself, because it made him an oddball. So he had to construct his own band, and he had to be the lead, and he had to do a lot of things, and he improvised, and he was taking blues into an improvisation, the same way that Miles Davis and Charlie Parker were doing. They were doing things that nobody had ever done before. So I kind of related with that, the way I see music. And BB had the same problem. Nobody shared the knowledge with him. Either they were so advanced musically with theory. I am not advanced with music theory. I know basic things. So I started picking up some things about Rocket Man that was very obsessive. Even when I was a kid, I heard the song and I was obsessed with it. And then later I became obsessed with Dark Side of the Moon. But let me get back to Summertime. So in summertime, while I was learning it, I began to realize that Rick Wright knew this song, that this is Shine On You Crazy Diamond. It's the keyboard from Shine On You Crazy Diamond. He's just slowed it down. And I started realizing Rick Wright actually knew a lot more about jazz than I realized. And I started picking up more and more. I mean, I hear it in like summer of '68 and things like that. But I started really starting to pay attention to what Pink Floyd was doing. And I started working with this, and I'll just show it to you real quick. All right, if you don't know, if you already know all this, and you probably don't need anything from this video, you're advanced, you're a master of music, which I am not. So I would just go over this for somebody that has a basic idea. The way we do chord, or the way we do scales is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and the 8 and the 1. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This 7 is a major seventh. All jazz is implied sevenths. If it says it's a chord, it's implied to be a seventh, a major seventh, unless it's a minor. And it will say minor in the notation, so it'll be small letters compared to capital letters. IB, it'll be big IB or small IB, things like that. Big V, small v. Those are the connotation between minor and major. So when we start out with a minor, we start out with a minor 7. So Rocket Man starts out with G minor 7th. And you play, the way you play these chords is you use your bottom fingers. Always get in the habit of using these. And I'm not a teacher, I'm just doing this to resolve this issue with this Rocket Man. I have not had time to finish this video. And this is where I was kind of going with it, and I got off track. I got to clean, I got to do store, I got to do all sorts of things. I got to do laundry, I got to cook, and then I got to rush all the way through there to get ready for work the next day. So these 2 days in a row, I've been able to sit down, thank God, and do a little bit of video on this. But you just start out like this. Back to the F. So if I were to take F, this is the minor second of F. When people say the song's in G, I'd argue that it could be in F. It could be a jazz in F. So I'm taking a minor second and I'm going to a major 4th, or a major 5th, I'm sorry. It is a 4th if you're in G. See, all blues goes 1, 4, 5. So if I start off on the minor 2nd, the chances are that that's the 2nd. You would say, well, that's a minor 1st. It's probably a minor 2nd, especially if it's going to the 4, then it's probably a 5th. And you're probably playing a 5th, 7th. That's exactly what Elton John plays. So it kind of lets me know that the song might be in F. Now, the strange thing about this pattern in this song is I'm going to play you something else. This is E minor 9th. So I got a minor, and then I've got an A7th. So the song itself must be in D. And strangely enough, that's what song Brain Damage and Eclipse ends in D on Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. And that was Breathe by Pink Floyd. So I can take this, and this is where I was getting at with this. She packed my bags last night flight. 0 hour, 9 a.m. So let's do this. Taking away the moments that make up a domain. And waste the hours and waiting. Kicking around on a piece of ground in your hometown. Waiting for someone or something to show you the way. Same pattern. So these cats must have collaborated at some point. They must have all picked up on what was going on. Rick Wright's a piano player, Bernie Taupin, and Elton John. And it's not just in that. I was messing around with I'm Easy by Lionel Richie, and it started out the same way. I looked up the tabs and the chords for it, and I didn't like it. But it started out on a G minor. So just as a tip to you, if you're playing guitar, I'm getting old, so my days with this is over, and it's just dwindling. So I just want to pass off anything to anybody that might be young and just maybe in the same way I was, where nobody was exactly explaining to me what was going on with this music, and I could have learned it maybe a little bit different at a younger age if somebody would have related with me on the way I was thinking. But anytime some song starts on a minor, it doesn't matter what it is, you might want to look at it. If it goes down to the 4 of that minor, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's G. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I'm in G minor, and I go to C, the chances are that you're going to be in F. So you can play it in an F, and you can make any song this way. It's jazz, because 2, 5, 1 is jazz. That is all jazz. Every song of jazz must have a 2, 5, 1. Dave Brubeck, where was I here? Take 5. God, I played this all the time and I can't remember it. I don't have time to post edit this, so it is what it is. Fingers there. The strange thing about that song is it's a minor. It's a minor 7th. It starts in a B minor 7th. So the song is probably an A flat. It is, because that's the chorus. Sound right if I do an E7. Doesn't sound right. And it resolves on that A, but it happens to be in a minor. The whole song's pretty much in a minor, in minor 7s. So just keep that in mind. And you can play with this all day long. Any color you like. So it goes to that C. Now the point of obfuscation, I didn't mean to touch on that. Obfuscation is extremely important. That's how we hide our key. And what we're doing is we're building tension that way. So this came about because the thing about music is there is no mistakes. That came from Miles Davis, who had to follow Charlie Parker, which it was impossible. He's on a trumpet and he's trying to follow Charlie Parker on a sax, an alto sax. Way too many keys, way too many valves for him to keep up with. So what Miles did was he figured if I could accent the changes in between, because that's all music is the changes in between. And a lot of blues gets into that. You can sit here and say, well, anybody can play for 1, 4, 5. So what we want to do is we want to figure out how can I play in between, and that's how all this different things came about with this. If I've got a song structure that I want to play in rock and roll, and I want to change it from different things like that, I can start adding things in. So Miles was doing this with Charlie, and when they were changing in between, they were using diminished keys and stuff like that. This allowed them to hide that tonic, or what root the key is in, what root the song's in, the root of the song. Sorry, and so you can play around with this simple minor second, seventh. That's the only two chords out. You know, when I was younger, I didn't hear Dark Side of the Moon. And I'd hang out with cats and I'd be like other musicians. It was like, it's only two chords. How did these guys take two chords? And people think you're crazy. No, there's all these other intricate chords in here that's involved. You know, these D sharp 9, you know, and D sharp, you know, 7th, 4th, or 7ths. And it's like, yeah, those are the changes in between. But the base structure of the song is two chords. And Miles Davis did the same thing in Some Kind of Blue in 1959, the album that changed pretty much everything for music, and especially jazz. And if you listen to it, it's extremely simple. And what he's doing, he's taking a simple concept and he's hiding his key. He's hiding the key of the song. So, and that's where I wanted to get with that Rocket Man. This chord change is in so much music. And when I'm sitting here not thinking about it, I can come up with a bunch of songs. But of course now I did time. So you take time, which is really F sharp minor. It's not G sharp, G minor 9, or G minor 7. It's actually an F minor, which is a little bit different side jazz chord, but it is the same structure. And taking away the moments that make up a dull day. So he's going there to the 4 if you're in F minor. But then he goes to and waste the hours in an offhand way, which is E. So if he's starting on a minor second, and then he's going down 1, 2, 3 frets, and playing a 7th, which he is, because you can hear it, and going to that, which is a major, then this is a jazz song. And Rick Wright has taken this structure from jazz, and he's changed it a little bit. You could take in the moments that make up a day, but it doesn't sound quite right. So that's what I'm saying about the Rocket Man thing, and that's where I was getting at with my last video on it. Take your minor second. Now the difference on if you don't know what a 7th is, I kind of skipped that. I'm going to show you that real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is a minor, or this is a major 7. Most of rock and roll, what they did, and that's jazz, you play that major 7. That's why it's implied. Unless somebody says something differently, it's implied as a major 7th. You see G. Oh, well, it's G major 7th. But in rock and roll, what they did was, and in blues, because they got it from blues, they played dominant 7ths, which is a flattened 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because this is a good minor, which is the minor key. A flattened 7th. So that fits with rock and roll. A lot of your solos are going to play off that. Whereas in jazz, when you got cats like Duane Allman and Jimi Hendrix, who Jimmy learned his guitar playing from his dad, who was a jazz saxophone or a jazz trumpet player, I believe. And you had Duane Allman picking up on this, and different bands that were trying to do a jazz fusion. And B.B. King wore this out. He kind of invented this. So you play off of this. So your jazz and your rock and roll starts merging into a bebop scale. And this is what Charlie Parker was getting at. And it adds a note to the whole phrase, and you can do it in different ways. But what it does is it allows you to obscure the key even more, because it gives you options to play more scales and more songs or more chords. So in a song like that where it starts out in a minor, if you're going to solo, you could probably solo that in F. She packed my bags last night with flame. And it would fit. And that's why it would fit. Because the 1 is the F. And you'll see this everywhere. The song, it'll say it's in G. It's in G. It's in G. Technically, maybe it is, but you can make a song in any key you want. I know I'm rambling here, but just remember that, this pattern. You can do it in anything. And that's not to simplify and say take anything away from Floyd or anything like that, but what it is musical genius. And this is what Miles Davis did with Some Kind of Blue. They were getting so technical and so advanced after Charlie Parker was gone. You know, they started making things really simple. And how simple I can make a song, and how ingenious I can do it, because there's so much I can do with the beat. And that's what Pink Floyd's doing. So they're taking some simple things, and then they're adding in, of course, you know, chords. So, you know, that's all I want to do. I just wanted to get this video out of the way and get to what I was doing with Rocket Man, and what my point of was that song, and what you can do with it. Just try to keep that in mind. And I don't know, I haven't played in so long, so I'm really kind of rusty. I've been playing this piano most of the summer, and it's a good thing to do, is to grab another instrument. If you're trying to learn music, do something else, grab something else, and figure out what it is. So, and see where you want to go with it. But always remember that. And your minor ninths or your minor sevenths are pretty simple. That's another thing about it. You can also do this. So that's an F minor ninth, which is G is A. It's an A chord, and I'm muting that A string and put my finger there. So, like with that G minor ninth, this is how you can do it in rock and roll. It's the same thing as B flat. So, I was wanting to make more videos. I'll try. There's some songs I see that people, I mean, I watch videos, people teaching people how to play songs that I don't know what they're doing. They're like, this is how, one of them was Jumpin' Jack Flash. I got to get to that video. I've been thinking about this for months now. After I watched like 4 or 5 videos on how to play Jumpin' Jack Flash, I'm like, why are people teaching people how to play this song? It's really kind of simple. It's not that complicated. Music is extremely simple, and you can get really complicated into the music theory of what I'm doing and really overcomplicate it and overthink it. And that's one of the problems with society today. I think people are trying to overthink. They're trying to compete with a computer, and that's lost, and that's why our music sucks, to be totally honest with you. People are just so afraid of making mistakes. They're trying to compete against dubsteps and remixes that are done by machines. that are far more intelligent than we are, and they're getting more and more intelligent. So people become apathetic and they're like, well, why should I play music? There is no such thing as a mistake. People need to play music. That's what I believe wrong with our society today. People, it's nothing against, I'm on Facebook, I do social media and stuff too, but I think people are becoming like Wall-E in the movie Wall-E, where they're just catered to with entertainment instead of trying to add something to it. We're not done. We're not done with music. So please, if you're into music, just pick up music and just start playing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to fit in with anything. I didn't always play music sitting in a living room by myself. The reason why I do today is because people are just too busy. They're like me. I'm working all the time, and their entertainment time they want for themselves. What's the point? I never was into making money, and I definitely didn't want fame. I just wanted to make music, and I ran across a lot of cats whose the goals were not like that. They wanted to make this pure music immediately, and I just didn't see that. Just play. It doesn't matter what mistakes you make. If it doesn't make any sense to anybody else, as long as it makes sense to you, keep doing it and keep going. And what I explained, I've just not seen anybody explain that and see these correlations between this one simple pattern, and if you start listening to it, it's in a ton of different songs. I'm sorry, I just don't remember offhand what they are. I kind of forgot them, but they'll come to me later, and I see it all the time. Anytime you start seeing minors, any song that starts out with a minor, look to see what the next chord is, and if it is, and it's a cool thing to do if you are playing in a band, where you say like, okay, well, that's a minor second. Let me go to the first and let me solo in there. Because a lot of people think, well, I've got to solo in the key of the song. I never was like that, especially with blues. I always wanted my solo to move in the key. But it throws other people off. The song is in A, B, E. Just a simple 1-4-5 blues. I always followed what chord it was in. And I learned that from David Gilmour, actually. I got a lot of arguments with a good friend of mine. It was like, you got a solo in the key that the song is in. I didn't see Gilmour doing that much. He doesn't comfortably numb. He solos definitely that song in B. And he stays in B. But he didn't used to do that. He didn't do it on Dark Side of the Moon either. He starts, in fact, in Time, he starts soloing F sharp minor, and then he starts moving to A. So, and then he moves to E. So it's like, okay, so this cat is soloing in the key of in the actual key that the chord is on. So in jazz, you can do the same thing, and in rock and roll, you can do the same thing. But people just don't do it. They like to stay in a pattern, and then make all these complicated changes that I've just never understood. Like, why can't we keep it's the beat and it's the rhythm. So you can change this rhythm. Funny, if you listen to Pink Floyd and you listen to Obscured by Clouds and you listen to metal, you'll start to hear the early days of Dark Side of the Moon in different beats. And so Nick Mason and Rick Ryder back there in the rhythm section with Roger Waters doing some different beats, and Gilmour's throwing in some different beats, but they're playing the same chords. Just keep that in mind. It's very strange how that works, but it just works. But I appreciate you watching, and sorry if you've watched any of these videos, I'm sorry it's taken so long for me to get into anything. But hopefully with a couple more days off a week, I can maybe do some videos or something. Because I'd like to do some more recording with this keyboard and maybe put them both together. Anyway, have a good night. Happy Labor Day.